Okay, there we go. All right, so I have a quote. I think it's always important to also process things and think about things deeply as we're doing these exercises, since we have time to reflect. Okay, so this is Stoic philosophy from Marcus Aurelius. Be the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved and the raging sea still falls around it. So I know there's lots going on and we want to be strong internally. So we're like the rock that the sea is crashing on. It's unmoved, nothing happens to it. It's solid. And when we train ourselves, we want to train that into our bodies and into our minds. Okay, so I want everybody to feel for their pulse. And I'm using 3 fingers just on this section of my hand. And you can just rest your arm on your lap if you're sitting. So why is this important? Because our pulse is directly connected to our breathing. Our heart beats faster when the demand for oxygen to our muscles increases. So if you understand your blood pressure and your heartbeat, then you can understand why you're breathing, because they're so connected. So I just want you to pay attention. I want 3 fingers on your wrist. I don't know if you guys can see. I'm going to turn a little bit. 3 fingers on your wrist. They're always measuring this in Chinese medicine because they didn't have tools to measure the heart. So what they did was take the pulse, and the pulse told them a lot about people's health. So just pay attention to your pulse right now. Take a second to pay attention to how heavy your pulse is under your index finger. It's actually different under each finger. And then you could switch your attention to your middle finger. So checking your pulse underneath your middle finger, just paying attention to that area. And then under your ring finger. So this is one exercise. If you're not feeling present, or if you're too much in your mind or in your thoughts, this is something that brings you back to the present moment, because your heart is one of those things that is like your own personal metronome. It tells you exactly how you're doing. And we're going to use this as we're exercising to make sure that we're aware of what's happening to our body. So now with your inhales and exhales, your breathing is connected to your pulse. So I want you to just count loosely in your mind how many pulses are happening on the inhale, how many pulses are happening on the exhale, without trying to change it. You don't want to change it, just pay attention, like you're just gathering information at the moment. And in Systema, we sometimes practice with this. Sometimes we do a deep, long inhale and a quick exhale. The longer the inhale, the more stimulated your heart gets. The longer the exhale, the more you start to relax your heart. So we're about to prepare for some movement. So it's okay if our inhales are a little bit longer. Again, you don't have to change it. We're just going to work with whatever you're working with now. Try the other wrist now. So your wrists are different, and you'll find the pulse is a lot stronger. With your finger there for a while, it can kind of dull the pulse a little bit. So we have 3 fingers for whoever just joins, 3 fingers on our wrist. Just on the thumb side, like under the big pad of your thumb. And again, you can go through all 3 fingers in your mind. How does the pulse feel under your index? Ring finger, middle finger. This tells you so much about your internal system. So you have pressure receptors around your veins and arteries that are telling you this all the time, but they're below your consciousness. So when you start to run faster, then your heart beats faster. You don't have to think or tell your body to do that. So this is one way of bringing it into your conscious awareness. If you're really good, you could just feel it inside your body anyways. But for our purposes, we kind of want to touch and feel. Okay, so this will be a measure, and we're going to use this. You can touch your neck too. When we start doing some exercises, this will be a measure of your presence. And between every exercise, we're going to check our pulse a little bit. Okay, so today we're going to work on opening up the diaphragm and breathing to generate power. So we're going to start with a deep inhale. I want you to take a deep breath and just notice what muscles get tight for you. Remember, we're inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. Breathing in, tell me what muscles get tight for you. It's different for everybody, depending on what you're doing for a living. And you can even touch yourself if you want to show. For me, sometimes my neck, the side of my neck here, My upper fiber, yeah, neck, upper back for you guys, neck, shoulders, pecs for Aaron, Eddie's upper fiber traps, lower back for Jefferson. So these are all common areas that try and help your diaphragm work. And when your diaphragm isn't doing the full job, these guys kick in. We don't want them to do that. So we want to focus on a deep belly breath. So now we're going to bring our awareness, expand your stomach in all directions, forwards, backwards, sideways, like a beach ball expanding from the middle. It gets bigger in all directions. And then when you exhale, it crumples a little bit. Hey, Julian, thanks for joining. Good to see you, buddy. So you're bringing your breathing down. Remember, this is like a muscular exercise for your diaphragm. So think about it like that. You want to be relaxed everywhere, but we're just training the diaphragm. It is a muscle. So deep belly breathing. Good, and there should be a point where you start feeling it less in those areas that you touch. So for Jefferson, you should start to feel it a little bit less in the lower back. And for Eddie and everyone else who touched their chest and shoulders, for Chris too, you should start to feel it less in those upper body areas, more in the diaphragm. Okay, great. Now we're going to shift our breathing to our chest. So only chest breathing. We want to make sure that our ribs can expand properly. So when I take a deep breath in, I actually want the focus to be in my chest. So I want my chest to come up and my ribs to flare out. Start taking a deep breath. Expanding the chest. For me, I feel some limitation, some tightness right where the last rib is and right where my lower back starts. That's kind of where the diaphragm attaches on the inside of our body. So it's normal to feel tension there. We want to just feel it, so you're not going to fight against it too much. Feel it and keep breathing deep into the chest. It's active work. That's right, and Benoit's doing a little diaphragm release. He's got his fingers hooked under. I showed you guys that last time if you want to do it. And yeah, good, Ralph. If you need to lie down, it takes some pressure off the mid-back as well. Okay, I'm gonna have to move back so you guys can see what I'm gonna do next. Let's tilt that down. So now we're gonna breathe with a stretch. So I'm sitting on my bum. If you want, you can do this lying down. You just need to create an arc with your body. So I'm reaching my arm up and over. And I'm gonna start breathing in this way. We did this last time, but now I want to incorporate some movement as well. So I'm moving from my belly button. I'm just kind of have my hand here so you can understand the plane. And I'm going to start to rotate, inhaling and exhaling. So inhaling, I'm moving outwards. Exhaling, I come back to center, like facing my computer. Inhaling, turning out. And you'll notice there's a lot of deep tension going on and it's kind of resisting a little bit. You want to feel that, just be aware of it. Make sure your sit bones are grounded if you're sitting. Make sure your bum is heavy on the ground or your legs are relaxed on the ground, or if you're in a chair, that's cool too. You want to make sure you're feeling grounded. Keeping the stretch, you want to make sure you're still reaching up and over. Your spine is getting long all the time, so it's very active. Inhaling, turning away. Excellent. You can bring that arm down. We're going to do the other side, so reaching up and over. Take a few deep breaths before we start adding the turns, just to make sure your ribs are flaring out properly. You want to breathe into the abdomen too. Again, make sure your sit bones are touching the ground, both of them. Your hip bone and your lower rib, they're separating from each other. So your spine and your belly area is getting longer. So now we're going to add a turn. So I have my hand here just to show you the dimension. And I'm going to turn away, inhaling, and turn towards you, exhaling. And you'll notice a lot of tight muscles in the lower back. So we're actually working to stretch really deep muscles around the spine, around our hips, and around our ribs. Make sure that you have the stretch. So you're always reaching up and over. Don't lose the stretch and don't lose your balance, like the feeling of your bum on the floor or the chair. Turning away. Excellent, guys. So I'm going to show you something else. Just take a few deep breaths into your belly, kind of see if things feel different. We did loosen some of the areas of the diaphragm, so I just want to see if it feels different. Thumbs up if it feels different, and then shake your hand if not so different. Good, 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 good. Excellent, yeah. Jeff is feeling his ribs open up. Jeff. Awesome, guys. Okay, so this is a diaphragm stretch. Let me demonstrate it first because I'm going to lose you guys once you start lying down. This is an interesting diaphragm stretch, and hopefully it works for you guys. So I'll demonstrate it and then I'll watch you guys do it to guide you through it. So I'm lying down on my back. My head would be flat on the ground, but I'm just looking up at you guys. I need to tilt my pelvis up. So if I have a tail, I want to curl it under me, and that's important to stretch the diaphragm. I'm going to inhale and reach all the way up, and I need to exhale until my lungs are as completely out of air as possible. And then inhale, coming back. You might cough at the end. What we're doing is we're trying to, so the diaphragm, when you exhale, it lifts up, and we're actually stretching it by exhaling as high as we can. When you curl your tail under, you have to constantly work at it. It's actually stretching the bottom part of your diaphragm as well, okay? Do you guys get that, or you want me to run through it one more time? Yeah, probably run through it one more time, right?
Yeah, one more time, please.
Okay. I know it's a little bit of a complicated exercise. So you're going to be lying down with your feet flat on the ground, knees up. You're going to tilt your pelvis forward. So if you had a tail, you'd be curling it between your legs and up, constantly pushing. When you inhale, you're going to lift your arms up, stretching your torso. And when you exhale, you just have to keep pushing through the exhale until you feel like you might cough or there's like an emptiness in the lungs. We're going to do a couple of repetitions of those. I want to try it because you have to kind of get the feeling of it. I know it sounds a little bit complicated, but once you do it, it's a little bit more intuitive. So as you're on the ground, make sure that your tail is tilted up and under, no matter where you are in the exercise.
So it's okay to have tension in your legs to achieve that?
It's okay to have tension in your legs if you need to balance. If you can work, then try and relax the feet. Tailbone always between the legs, yeah, for Vincent. So inhaling, arms up, perfect, Benoit, great. Exhale, 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 push that exhale, Peter, excellent. Nice, Tom, very relaxed. So if you can focus all the work just on your diaphragm, there is a little bit of work in the hips to kind of tilt the pelvis up. And you have to really push the exhale to stretch the diaphragm, because when you're exhaling, it's actually lifting up against your heart and lungs. So it's actually moving up. We want that stretch. You guys are looking really good. Remember, your attention should be on your diaphragm. The tilting your hips forward or your tail, tucking your tail under, that's just to stretch the bottom part of the diaphragm. It attaches to the front of your vertebrae 3 and your lumbar vertebrae 3 and 4. Nice, Barry. That's looking good. Nice, Chris. Push that exhale. Good arm. I can't see you, but I can see your arms moving down, so that's perfect. Nice, Brenda. Okay, guys, so we're going to work on a similar one. I want you to just take a breath. It's always good to just reassess. We don't want to do anything pointlessly. Hopefully all the exercises are helping you move towards a better breathing and somehow. So take a couple of deep breaths. If you want to stay on the ground, that's great too, because we're going to continue our work from that area. So are you guys feeling any improvement? You can give me a thumbs up or shake your hand if it's not so good. Good, good, good. Excellent, guys. Okay, I'm glad. Hey, John, thanks for joining us. So from that position, if you can see Tom's screen, I don't know if you have just my screen on the top. He's in the perfect position. We're going to go back with our feet flat on the ground, but this time with our pelvis tucked, we're going to be up in the air like this. So actually, let me demonstrate the full motion. You're going to, as you're inhaling, you're going to lift your pelvis up and your arms up. You're going to exhale completely. And after you're done exhaling, you're going to bring your hips down before you take an inhale again. So it's the exact same thing, but as you're lifting your arms up, you're lifting your pelvis off the ground, kind of like a glute bridge, if you guys have ever done that. You're going to complete the exhale and then come back down. So it sounds more complicated as I'm explaining it. When you start doing it, you'll feel it. You want to lift your hips off the ground. Chris, you got a question?
I do, yeah. So while we're doing the glute bridge, should we also focus on rotating in with the hips like we did, or just straight up?
Yes, exactly. You're going to rotate like a posterior pelvic tilt, they call it, or tuck your tail under.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, guys, I'll guide you through it. If I see you guys are having challenges with it, I'll re-show it. This just makes the stretch a little bit deeper. So if you weren't feeling it, or you weren't feeling a funny stretch in your mid-back somewhere on the front of your spine, this can kind of make it a little bit deeper. Also, it just activates the glutes too. So if there's no benefit to your diaphragm, at least your glutes are getting toned. Nice, Tom. Good pace. Remember, guys, you really want to focus on pushing that exhale, lifting up the hips and tucking your tail under just adds to the stretch. It's still kind of an exhale drill. So that's your focus. Excellent, guys. And you can slowly come back to sitting, but take your time. We mobilized a lot of tissues, and now that they're kind of stretched in ways that we haven't had them before, we don't want to move too fast with them. We want to make sure that they're integrated into our movements properly. So always moving with breathing. If you need to get up, you're moving with breathing. If you need to come sitting, you're moving with your breathing. Okay, perfect, guys. Take a deep breath in. Always reassess. If you're not getting better, then there's something wrong with the movement, or there's something wrong with my exercise. Okay, so going back to, I'll bring up my picture again if you guys can see. You can see how the muscles are also connected to the jaw and the front of the neck, as well as you can see the red parts are in between the ribs. So we want to mobilize those areas. So just to give you context for anyone who came in, there was an anatomist who dissected bodies and learned that certain muscle groups kind of moved into each other. They were one continuous unit. And if you peeled all those layers back, the muscles were actually one long sheet. They weren't separate like muscle bellies or parts. So we want to stretch our neck, and in between our ribs, I'm going to demonstrate. I'm sitting on my bum, and I'm just facing the side so you can see me. So I'm going to inhale, my back is straight, sit bones on the ground, inhaling, lifting up and looking up. As far back as I can go, and I'm pushing, pushing, pushing. And then with my exhale, I come back down. Similar to what we did on the ground, but it's in inhale up, exhale down. You want to look up as well as you're inhaling. I'll do this with you guys. You should feel the stretch right underneath your chin. This is a connection point indirectly to your diaphragm. That's it. Nice, Brenda. Nice. Remember, Miro, relax your legs a little bit. Relax your sit bones. You don't want to, exactly. Don't bring tension into the legs if you don't need to. In fact, you'll feel more balance if your legs are heavy and relaxed. Nice, John. Do it from sitting if you need to. If you need a chair or anything, that's good too.
Mike, what happens to your lower back?
You shouldn't feel an overarch in your lower back. That means you're doing too much. You should keep it just to your, like the spine behind your ribs. No loading of the lower back. Remember, deep breathing into the belly, guys. Deep breathing into the belly. We're exercising our diaphragm, so it's a very active movement. And as you guys are doing that, I'll just share with you, I just watched some interesting neurology videos where they were saying athletes, if they're unable to maintain blood pressure or breathing, the brain will actually limit you in what you're able to do. So that means you'll have like a governor. You won't know why you're not able to perform those, but your body is actually protecting you. If you can't control your blood pressure when you're doing burpees, it won't allow you to, it'll shut you down. So blood pressure, breathing, and heart rate, they're all connected. So it's important that we're training our breathing because it's one of the key components to that. Excellent, guys, and you can come down. We don't want to overstrain your neck, and if you're feeling strain in your neck, I don't want you to continue. You're always stopping whenever you feel discomfort. Okay, so now we're going to get a little bit more active. I'm going into a lunge right here. So I'm going to get into a lunge and bringing my hips down and forward. I'm on my knees. If your knees are bothering you and your floor is too hard, you can do this standing, like a standing lunge. I know some of you guys don't have mats or a soft surface. Keep your body upright. So what we're doing is stretching the hip flexor, which is connected along your spine and to your diaphragm. In this stretch, I want you to focus on deep breathing. So you're mobilizing your diaphragm while you're stretching your hip flexors, your deep hip flexors. Good, guys. We're going to stay here and hold it in and breathe, okay? So I want you to stay there, hold it, and breathe. At some point when you feel like you're balanced, I just want you to close your eyes and see if you can maintain your balance. Inhaling and exhaling. If you're feeling comfortable, I want you to lift your arms up like we did earlier. Don't lift your neck, just lifting your arms up. And that'll put an extra additional stretch. Remember, if your lower back is arching, we don't want that. Eyes forward or head forward, but keep your eyes closed if you're comfortable doing that. And you'll notice that it's a lot harder to balance with your eyes closed. Your attention goes inside and your muscles are starting to figure out where you are in time and space. Good, guys, come out of that one nice and slowly. We're going to switch. So other leg. Your back is upright. You're trying to ground and relax your foot as much as possible. So your leading foot is really, imagine like it's 3 times bigger than it is. And you can really trust your weight and your position on.
Are you just pushing or leaning forward to work the rear leg hip flexor? Or are you also sinking the hips down while you're going? Is it just forward, or am I also trying to go down and forward?
Yes, down and forward.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking, Chris. And don't be afraid to ask questions if you guys have them too. Okay, I need to move back so you guys can see. Okay, excellent. So you guys are in a stretch position. If you'd like, you can close your eyes at this point. And if you'd like an additional stretch, you can slowly raise your arms above your heads. Slowly raising your arms above your heads. You can hold them in that position. If you need to take a break or if it's uncomfortable on your knees, you can stop. We're going to do this from standing right after. So remember, you need to make your diaphragm very active in these movements. So you're breathing really deep into your belly and maybe even exhaling a little bit more than you normally would. And you should feel that it actually changes the pulling in the stretch a little bit. You'll feel it in different ways on the inhale and the exhale. Good, guys. You can open your eyes, you can bring your arms down, you can come out of this stretch. We're going to do this from standing. So same thing from standing. Gosh, my camera angle is not so great. Apologies for that, guys. So I guess you'll just see my legs for this. So what I'm doing is I'm taking one big step forward, keeping my back leg straight and my back foot flat on the ground. Take your time to get into the position. I know you guys are, some of you guys are adjusting your cameras, that's all good. Okay guys, so take a big step forward. You're gonna start to lean into it. If you need to, support your weight on your front knee, that's okay. Because the more supported you are, the more likely you'll release that muscle. Both toes of both feet should be facing forward for this stretch. If you're feeling comfortable, I want you to close your eyes so we can build a little bit of balance while we're doing this as well. And you'll notice, all of a sudden it becomes an extreme balancing exercise. Open your eyes whenever you need to, and you can always try again. So remember, you want to make sure you're taking deep breaths, and if you're not feeling a stretch, you can lift your arms up, like over your head. I guess this is what they call in yoga warrior pose 2 or warrior pose. Lindsay knows. So arms up over your head. You're taking deep breaths, really working with the diaphragm. I'm just coming over to mute, guys. Whoever's just came on. Hey, Dad. Good, guys. Make sure you're feeling a stretch on the front of your hip of the leg that's back.
Warrior 1.
Warrior 1, thanks, Lindsay. So as you start to get comfortable, relax your foot, relax into your foot. Sink in deeper if you can. If you need to bring your arms down to rest, that's okay, but you're keeping the lunge if you can. Remember, deep inhales, deep exhales. You have a stretch on the front of your hip, and breathing deeply into the diaphragm is stretching the deeper muscles. These muscles give our internal power when we start doing our push-ups and our squats. One thing when Daniel Ryabko was in town, he told me, we call it internal power because the power comes from inside out. And I'm starting to think it's maybe not so mystical. Maybe they actually mean the deeper muscles are what we start our movements with, and then the bigger muscles work on top of that. Good, guys. You can come out of that and switch your legs if you haven't already. I know we held it for quite some time. I'm going to do this one with you guys because you guys look like you're handling yourselves really well. Remember, the back foot is flat on the ground. We don't want you up on your toes. Part of your calves are actually connected to this whole chain. Taking a big step. There we go. You want to sink your hips down and forward. And it's done through relaxation. The more comfortable you get, more likely your muscles will release. And again, if you'd like, you can lift your arms up. That just puts a little bit of tension on the diaphragm. So if you're going to breathe through it, you'll feel a little bit more pulling with the diaphragm. If you want to convert this to a balancing exercise, you just need to close your eyes. And all of a sudden you'll notice your foot's really trying to work to figure out where you are. Remember guys, deep breathing, deep inhales, even long exhales as well. Excellent. You can slowly come out of that, bringing the arms down, stepping forward. Just shake out the legs. Make sure that they're feeling good. Take a second to feel your pulse. And I know that wasn't maybe very hard work for some of you guys, but just get a sense of how hard you were working through that exercise. Maybe some of you guys more than others. You're just taking your pulse. And if you'd like, pay attention to how much breath's on the inhale, how much breath's on the exhale. If you'd like the numbers, sometimes that's good too. Sometimes people just like the feeling, just to understand, is it moving too fast? Is it strong? Is it weak? In Chinese medicine, they had a label for almost every single kind of pulse, like a kind of like a rapid light pulse and or strong thudding pulses. So it tells us a lot about our health. Okay, you guys are looking healthy. Nobody's looking pale. Excellent. So now we're going to start working on, and I'll show you again, I'll just bring up the image. There's muscles on the inner thigh connected to our hip flexors, connected to our diaphragm. We're going to start working these guys. This is a muscle called Adductor Magnus. There's some other muscles they don't show here, but they are connected. And I'll show you how we're going to work on them. So with breathing, of course. I'm standing, and then I'm going to just start to walk my legs out until I feel a light pull. I'm going to stay here and breathe until that pulling disappears. Then I continue walking my feet out a little bit more. So it's going to be like a dynamic stretch. When you're at a point where you're feeling unbalanced or uncomfortable, I want you to walk your feet back together, shake them out, and we're going to try it again. Okay? So there's going to be a lot of work trying to balance with your feet apart. And right now we're just doing it across, like horizontally, away from you. But then you can start to do it forwards and backwards in different planes. And remember, so now we're stretching your inner thigh. It's connected to your diaphragm. You want to make sure you're doing deep breaths, inhaling and exhaling. And see how it changes the pull a little bit. So you're only working to the level of stretch that you're comfortable with. You're not trying to learn how to do the splits today. You're just trying to see how your diaphragm is connected to your inner thigh. Some of you guys are more flexible than other people. Flexibility is not necessarily a measure of strength or health. So just keep that in mind. Some people are just naturally more flexible than others. Some people like to work on it. It's actually not a big deal if you're not super flexible. So while you're feeling a stretch, inhaling and exhaling. Good. Shake it out. And Miro, if you want, you can even move your legs forward and back. So you can do like a different split. This still kind of works the same muscles, but in a different kind of fashion. Get as low as you can, guys. And I know you're at home, there's no mats, but if you're comfortable, go to a point where you can fall softly onto the floor. As long as there's no fear, because then the fear will tense you up and the value will be gone from that exercise. And I recommend coming up nice and slowly. So try not to shoot yourself up if you can, because you are training your neurology a little bit. You want to be comfortable, and if your body's moving too fast and your body might not trust you, or your brain might not trust you to do these movements when you need to. Exactly, come out of it nice and slow. And always, you can change your leg position, always kind of sliding your foot until you meet resistance on your inner thighs. This is a breathing exercise, so you're going to do some deep breathing into the belly. And again, if you'd like, you can always lift your arms up. They are connected. If you want to add an extra pull, up to you. Okay, good guys. We're gonna come up to center. We're gonna work on the same exercise, but I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I just wanna share something with you that I read recently. Muscle relaxation is a neurological skill that must be learned and developed through practice. That means relaxation is something we have to practice. And if we're doing our movements with tension, we're learning tension. If you do your movements, and this could be just daily things that you do. If you're doing them with relaxation, you're learning that. That becomes your normal. So it's important that we're practicing relaxation. It's not something that's a natural state. We actually have to train it. Okay, so we're gonna do kind of an exercise that educates our inner thighs to relax a little bit. So it's the same exercise, walking my feet out. But at some point, when I feel a stretch, I'm gonna try and squeeze my legs together without bringing them together. So I'm kind of like trying to, if I was a big crane, I was trying to crush the ground together. And then I relax. So inhaling, tensing up, for example, exhaling, relaxing. And then if I have some more room, I can wiggle out a little bit more and continue. Whenever you feel like you're done with that particular position, you come up slowly and then you switch your leg position. So you can do forwards and backwards, or you know, front squat, front split, or side split, whatever you like. And if you have a question, I'm happy to answer, Benoit.
Are you bending a little your knees?
If you're feeling knee pain, I would recommend slightly bending your knees.
Okay.
As long as you're feeling an inner thigh stretch, because
Okay.
only some of the inner thigh muscles pass the knee. So it's actually not important if your knee's straight or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
Mike, what about I'm feeling back pain when in the lower back when I stretch.
How deep are you feeling that?
Quite a bit, to the point where it's painful.
Starting to bother you? Okay, I want you to lay off exercises a little bit. And what I want you to do, let me show you a version that you can do just to stretch the inner thighs. It's more gentle. You're gonna lie down on your back and just let your legs fall out to the side.
Like that?
Yeah, kind of like a frog position. I can't quite see you, but make sure your lower back isn't arching too much.
How's that? Can you see me now?
Exactly. And so there might be an extra pull on your lower back. I want you to push your belly button to your spine.
Up to the spine. Okay.
Exactly. Because you don't want that curl in your lower back. That's probably causing you some pain.
Yeah. Yeah, it was as I was stretching lower, it was hurting.
Okay.
Came up, I was not too bad. But that was
I'll see if I can do something to address that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for asking. Make sure you guys are breathing during this exercise, because remember, the diaphragm is somehow connected to these inner thigh muscles. See how the breathing kind of makes a light pulling sensation on your inner thigh. See if it changes that a little bit. What we want to understand is how the diaphragm is pulling on all our muscles in that whole line. And remember, you're tensing up, trying to squeeze your legs, and relaxing with an exhale. Sometimes our muscles are tight because we haven't fired them and relaxed them. They're just kind of in a default mode. And again, guys, if your knees are bugging you, you can bend your knees, or you can do what Brian's doing, just to kind of keep the stretch going. And Brian, I want you to work on deep breaths if you can in this position. Yeah, perfect. Excellent, guys. And you can come towards the camera. Just come out slowly of your stretches. Shake out your legs and just kind of test how they feel. I don't know, whatever works for you. If you like to do light kicks in the air or squats or whatever, test and see how your hips feel. Any improvement, guys? Thumbs up.
They feel very stretched.
Very stretched. Okay.
Very smooth.
Very smooth. That's what we're looking for. Great.
Motion. Yeah, big difference. Thank you.
Nice. Excellent. Okay,
It
so
does feel a little uneven, Mike. Like the hamstrings, at least in my case, are quite tight. So it feels like even though the hips and the extenders over here are quite nicely stretched, now the hamstrings are crying, take care of me.
all right, like when compared to anything else, what's tricky is your hamstrings might actually influence the rest of your body. So let's address our hamstrings because that might be true for some of you guys as well. So we'll go off course a little bit, but I showed you guys some nerve flossing before last time. And you could do it from standing. I'm just crouching because sometimes it's easier to see. So I'm in this position, my stomach coming forward, and I want to stretch in my hamstrings, maybe even my calves. This will help release it if you guys are open to that. I want to bring my toes back and my foot up. So I'm bringing it, and that increases the stretch in my calves and hamstring. Once you guys feel that stretch, that light pulling, I want you to just unlock your knee and lock your knee again. And what you're doing is flossing the nerve. If there's any pain, I want you guys to stop. It's going to feel a little bit tingly and a little bit uncomfortable, but no pain. Pain is not what we want here.
Feels great.
Oleg, I can't see your legs, I can see your upper body. And you're slightly backlit, but that's it, Oleg. Exactly. You don't have to hold the toes if you don't want to, but if that gives you some stability, it's good. That looks right. And when you straighten your leg, you should be feeling the pulling. Good, Oleg, nice.
Yep. Thank you.
So now, keep your knee straight. I want you to pulse your foot up towards you. So you're kind of curling your toes down and your foot down, and then pulling them up. You're kind of doing this motion. I'm showing with my hands because you might not be able to see my foot properly. What this is also doing is kind of flossing the sciatic nerve, which actually comes out of your lower back. So hopefully we also address what Brian was concerned with a little bit. Excellent, guys. Now, this is going to be a little bit different. I didn't show this last time, but you're going to point your foot down and you're going to curl your foot in. I can show, I'm pointing my toes down and curling my foot in. You should feel a pull on the outside of your ankle. Pointing toes down, and then your foot is like rolled in, like if you were to roll your ankle and the outside of your ankle gets stretched. From here, I want you to unlock your knee and lock your knee, and you should feel a different kind of pulling on a different part of your calf. Okay, good. Now you can slowly come out of that. Make sure it's slow because we were pulling on nerves. They're not the most flexible material in the body. We're going to switch to the other leg. So starting in this position, you want to stretch in your hamstring, knee straight, leaning the stomach forward like you want to touch your stomach to your thigh, bringing your ankle, your toes up towards you. And you should feel a pull. And for me, I'm feeling it in my calf, a little bit in my hamstrings. It's going to be different for everybody. And from here, you unlock the knee and lock the knee. So you're kind of taking off the stretch and adding the stretch. And just check your breathing. Just check in, make sure you're breathing through this exercise. I know sometimes when we get hyper-focused, we forget a little bit about ourselves. And then at this point, you can keep the knee locked, and I want you to pulse your foot back towards you, toes and foot coming back towards you. Excellent. And now just relax that. I want you to point your foot down and inwards. So pointing the toe, even curling the toes in if you can, it's going to increase it. And then kind of turning the foot in. And here, once you get that stretch, you'll feel it in a different part of your calf. You bounce your foot, or sorry, bouncing the knee. Remember, if you're not feeling the stretch in the hamstrings, you need to bring your stomach towards your hamstrings, towards your thigh. Okay, good, guys. I want you to shake your legs out, give them a test. And Oleg, tell me if that feels a little bit better on the hamstrings.
Yeah, much, much better. And it was quite different from leg to leg. Thank you.
Good. So guys, now some time for some free work. We were working on what Tom Myers called the deep front line. So how to generate internal power from the diaphragm. I want you guys, whatever exercises you like, push up, body raise, squat, leg raise, start to do that, but starting the motion with the breathing like we did on Monday. I think the same people showed up on Monday, so I don't think I have to explain too much. But now you have about 5 minutes and just start to experiment. The purpose is that you're feeling the motion being started from the breathing first. Okay, so it doesn't matter how much you do, even if you just want to do one really good one, because what we're doing is practicing generating power from those internal muscles. So quality of movement's more important than the quantity. And for Brenda, sorry you weren't there on Monday, you're going to get up in push-up position, for example, and stay at the bottom if you can. And what you're going to do is inhale. Before you even push up, that inhale should kind of fill up your body and create a little bit of a motion, like you're coming up. And then what you're going to do is, whenever you're ready, You're gonna do like an inhale and then ride that motion by pushing your arms straight. So you're using the breathing to start the motion, and then your muscles kind of kick in after. Good, guys. You guys are looking so good. Ralph, see if you can relax your shoulders on that squat. You don't need to have those shoulders up. Rest on your diaphragm. So imagine like you have a balloon inside you and you're resting your whole body. You're resting your arms, you're resting your spine on it. That internal pressure should be able to carry you. So you should be able to relax on that internal pressure. Nice, Chris. Nice and slow, and feel the stretch of the diaphragm as you're exhaling. That's excellent. So Brendan, Systema, we often do a squat, sit up, and a push up. Those are our like basic exercises that we do. And so we're just testing how breathing can kind of generate power on those. But if you have any other moves that you like, you can always do those. Some of you guys will notice even the arm position can add a little bit of a pull. So if you want to lift yourself up with a squat, or if you're having trouble in a body raise and you put your arms over your head, sometimes that can create like a pull that helps the motion. Nice, Miro. Remember, it's not about as many repetitions. I want you guys to really go inside. Pay attention to how your breathing is giving you strength and support for this exercise. I'll say the quote that I read earlier again. So just remember, guys, muscle relaxation is a neurological skill that must be learned and developed through practice. We want to make sure that all our movements are starting from breathing. I'll give you the other quote that I said from Marcus Aurelius. Be the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved and the raging sea still falls around it. Good, guys. We're going to end the class because the kids' class is about to start. If you have any feedback, just send us an email. Thank you guys for coming and participating. And remember, throughout the day, if you're feeling stressed or you're losing yourself, you got your pulse to tell you where you are. So that's your own metronome. That's how you can kind of make sure that you're present and you're not, lost in your thoughts. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you, Mike.
Thanks,
Welcome.
Mike.
Have a good afternoon, fellas.
Have a great day, guys.
Adios, amigos. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Stay inside.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
Ciao.